In the years between 2013 and 2020, it became clear that offshore wind was going to be a success for the energy transition in the Netherlands. With the accelerating rollout of offshore wind, 2 Dutch NGOs started a program called the Rich North Sea, focusing on seizing the opportunities for underwater nature within offshore wind farms. The basic idea? Use the lack of bottom disturbance and the introduction of hard substrate to support nature and bring back biogenic reefs. From ideas and sketches on the drawing board, the Rich North Sea quickly moved to the practical implementation of their ideas. It's not always smooth sailing when you are pioneering, but together with our partners, we learned a lot along the way.
The program started when there was a big change in offshore wind development in the Netherlands. It went from small and some wind farms to a whole roadmap from the government on how they want to roll out offshore wind. And with offshore wind becoming a lot bigger, the importance to take nature into consideration also grew.
Inside offshore wind farms, fishing, active fishing is not allowed. So we have a nursery chamber for new biodiversity. And creating those nature enhancement options inside offshore wind farms, that's in fact the Rich North Sea program.
The Rich North Sea is a group of very excited people that is really removing boundaries, I find. So they are bringing together many stakeholders that have an ambition but are sort of hesitant to get started, and I think the Rich North Sea removed some of that hesitation and just with curiosity and dedication sort of brought people together.
It's very good that there are NGOs that look at the positive sides of industrial developments and make sure they happen in a way that is as sustainable as possible and see where the possibilities are to do a little bit extra.
In the beginning, we were a bit stuck in scientific considerations, and what we learned from that is that you just have to start the work, talk to people, start experimenting, and don't be afraid to fail. Just pick up the pieces and make it better.
A project offshore is quite different than doing stuff onshore. There are lots of risks. We have waves, wind, harsh weather conditions. So all the people from the Rich North Sea program, they got training on safety, but also we got the understanding that hiring an offshore vessel for deploying an artificial reef is not just calling a van, but it's really a project on itself.
We were a group of people working at an NGO and working in the marine ecology part, but we were not educated in the functioning of offshore wind farms and the offshore wind industry. So it was really learning what was important, what was the process of different things, and how can ecology be incorporated in that process.
They thought we are going to enhance nature, we just put in some structures and nature will arise automatically, which is the case. But what these NGOs, for example, did not know is that whatever you put in a wind farm should adhere to certain regulations, that it's stable at the seabed and it cannot cause any risk to the infrastructure of the wind farm itself.
All of a sudden, not only we had to worry about all the ecological requirements of the pilot setup, but also the health and safety requirements. Basically, the ecologists and the engineers, they spoke a different language, and we had to find each other to get these projects carried out successfully.
You can plan everything into detail, but because you work offshore, there's no guarantees. You're always dependent on weather and on currents and on wave heights. And for people who've been working offshore their whole lives, they're used to this. But for us, it was something very new, and you have to be very flexible in your planning.
The pace of offshore wind development is really high, and the knowledge about the ecological consequences is always behind. So there's only one way to make that gap smaller, and that is through learning by doing. We can theorize as much as we want. We can put on paper many plans and big ideas, but I think the quick learning comes with just applying a concept in reality.
Learning by doing is effectively that, what it says on the tin. It's trying things out and see what works and what doesn't work. Now, sometimes things don't work in the field because maybe cages get smothered by sand. Then you can do a number of things. You can either switch to a different environment or design the cages in a different way so they don't get fully congested with sand.
If it storms, the forces on the structures are way higher than we tend to model. We lost structures as well, and then you lose your experiment, so it's really sad. However, it gives you the right cues to make it better in the future and to make things actually work.
It's really difficult to say in general something about the effects of our work. So we can say, for example, okay, we put an artificial structure in the sea and we can see it attracts nature. We see a lot of species around them. So can we say that if we place those artificial reefs in every wind farm in the North Sea, that we regenerated the nature? We're not sure. And that's why we also need to scale up and see for ourselves whether it does make a difference on a big scale as well.
If you look at a success that we had, is that we managed to incorporate nature enhancement tender criteria, qualitative criteria, in the offshore wind tenders. Yeah, that's really a perfect way of getting nature enhancement and at the earliest start of development of offshore wind.
These non-price criteria, they are about sustainability, biodiversity, boosting innovation, or for example, providing benefits for local communities. And the use of this non-price criteria is so important because it actually factors in the environmental performance of wind farms.
It will be interesting to see how many of the ecology measures are implemented now that the business case is under increasing strain. But it's very important to note that it's not because of the cost of those ecology measures, because they are fundamentally the thing you need to do, but it's because of the changing market dynamics and the increasing prices and the market fundamentals that are difficult, more so than they were a few years back.
The Dutch government now launched a very ambitious program, the Nature Regeneration program for the North Sea. It adopted the Rich North Sea project in that program, and I think it provides the perfect opportunity to scale up.
The program Nature Regeneration North Sea offers the continuation of the activities of the Rich North Sea, but we can even expand our ambitions in upscaling it and really continue our work in our common goals. Nature regeneration and nature restoration.
I'm very happy with the Nature Regeneration North Sea Fund and program that is now really scoping on large-scale marine restoration to boost biodiversity next to further development of offshore wind.
After more than 5 years of pioneering with nature enhancement in offshore wind farms, the rich North Sea has created something beautiful. Now is the time to share the valuable lessons learned and inspire others.
I think one of the biggest achievements is proving that it can be done, or motivating, just showing, not on a large scale yet, but showing nature enhancement is a possibility. You should take it into consideration and everybody should get involved.
The most important lesson that we can learn from the rich North Sea is that you can never think big enough or act quick enough.
In the Netherlands, we probably bumped into a bit of a wall where people were pointing out what needed to be done but weren't necessarily doing it. And that's what I think made the rich North Sea quite successful. It started doing what needed to be done.
We've learned a lot in the Netherlands and we think those lessons are also valuable for other countries. So that's why we go out to other countries, visit congresses, join webinars to share our lessons which we learned back home in the hope that other countries will follow.
The rich North Sea, they have the knowledge, they even have a toolbox where you can digitally go in and see all the lessons learned, the contact details, the things that we've done. But they have also a great team with people who want to share their knowledge and who want to expand.
In the North Sea, we are a front runner now in terms of creating opportunities for ecological enhancement in offshore wind farms. But the rest of the world is looking. I think it'll be a very wide topic all over Europe and probably elsewhere in the world.
It's in everyone's best interest to do this for climate in a nature-inclusive way, and you can't tackle one crisis by helping yourself into another. And I do believe that the companies who are working on offshore wind have this vision of they don't want to be just another industry. They want to get it right.
Ideally, all future offshore wind farms are nature inclusive in its design, so that we don't work with add-ons, but in the basic design of the offshore wind farm, as many nature inclusive elements are incorporated.
Restoring natural functions is really, really important to let nature do the work as much as possible. So you can provide the boundary conditions, making sure areas are not fished, making sure there is the right sort of substrate or so, but give nature the chance to do things herself.
If we really want to make it work on a scale that is significant for marine biodiversity, we have only just begun, and we should make investments that are aligned with the investments in renewable energy. If we really want a balance, we should invest in both.